Hi everybody, welcome back. Well, if you've been following along in all of our other videos, we finally have come to the place where we're going to actually buy some cryptocurrency using a distributed exchange or DEX. Before we get started, please like, subscribe, and tick the bell to receive future content. Let's go over some of the things we're going to learn in this video. One of the things we're going to learn is what a DEX is, or a distributed exchange, why it's better than a CEX or a centralized exchange. When you're trading on a DEX, you're trading pairs of coins or tokens. So you're trading one token that you have for another one that you don't have. To select the proper coins, you have to be using the token or coin's proper contract address. And we'll go into a little bit about how to make sure that you're using the right address so that you don't accidentally trade for some scam token that somebody's put out there to try and trick you into giving your valuable USDC for a made-up token that they're just putting out there to take all your money. Each blockchain typically has one or more DEX associated with it. We'll talk about some of the more popular blockchains and the distributed exchanges that go with each of them. And when you're swapping one token for another, you're doing it against a specific blockchain. And the demo that we're going to do today, we're going to be doing a DEX on the Ethereum network. When we get to the demo where we're going to be swapping coins, we're going to come to a point where we're swapping one coin for another or one token for another. So it brings up the idea of token versus coins, and they're pretty much interchangeable. Most people, when they're talking about them, use those words interchangeably. The difference is that a coin is the base cryptocurrency for a blockchain. So for Ethereum, the base coin is the Ether coin. Ethereum supports building other cryptocurrencies on top of the Ethereum blockchain, and those are called tokens. When a transaction occurs on a blockchain, typically the transaction is paid in the base coin for that blockchain. So for Ethereum, it's paid in Ether. For the Avalanche blockchain, AVAX is the base coin for that. For Polygon, Matic is the base coin for the Polygon blockchain. But the point is that when you're using a DEX, you're mostly swapping tokens for tokens or the base coin for that blockchain with a token. As long as you're trading popular tokens, the DEX you're using should show the token towards the top. If you're entering a token in that's somewhat new, you should make sure you're getting the contract for that token correct. Usually you can find that on one of the token listing sites, and I'll show you that as we do that in the demo. Okay, let's get started with the demo. For this demo, we're going to be trading USDC for Hex. I've brought up 3 different DEXs that support the Ethereum network. 2 of them are aggregators. What that means is that they look at several different DEXs and take the best price and give you the best price. Because they do that, they typically are a better place to do your trading. So this is Uniswap. It would be one of the DEXs that the aggregators are looking at. 1inch and matcha.xyz are the other 2. I will put links in the description for each of these and how I got to their home pages. Once you get to the home page for Uniswap, you will do a launch app, which will open up a new tab. I'm going to go ahead and close the home page, and we're just going to show you what it looks like. We'll end up doing the trade on 1inch or matcha. So it opens up to a page that looks like this. This is basically the main trading page, and they call it swapping also. Most of your DEXs are going to look very similar to this. So once you get the hang of how to use one of these pages, what you've learned will work on most of the other DEXs that exist. In fact, Uniswap is one of the original DEXs on Ethereum, and they provide open source software, so many of the other DEXs that exist have taken Uniswap's code and modified it for their own use. So you're going to see similarities because of that to how Uniswap works. To do a swap, you'll enter in the token that you have, and then on the bottom you'll enter the token you want to receive for the token that you're giving away at the top. I'm going to click here to select the token. So earlier I was talking about at the top the more common tokens existing and being shown on the DEX. So we're going to have USDC. So we'll choose that as the token to give away, and in return we'll get back HEX. Now I'm just typing in HEX. We're not going to use Uniswap for this trade, but I'll just show you how it's done. And once you do that, then I can say for $1, and it will give me the current price, so the current ratio of HEX that are in the pools for that DEX. Most of these are going to work the same way. In order to actually do the trade, you'll have to connect your wallet first, and I'll just do that on the other sites just to show you how that's done. They're all done in a similar way. So let's go over to 1inch, and they have apps that you can use from the App Store for Apple or on Google Play for Android, so Apple for your iPhone. I still don't prefer to do any transacting or any money on my phone since it's on almost 24/7. It's just a much larger target, allows hackers continuous time to be able to try and get into my phone. So I'm going to launch the dApp. I'm doing all this on my desktop. I'm going to go ahead and close this tab, which is the home page where I launched the dApp from. And it's loading up the app.1inch.io desktop app, just like it did for Uniswap. So these apps are Web3 apps, which means they have interfaces behind the scenes to talk to blockchains. The good news is you don't have to know any of those interfaces or how they work, because it's all hidden behind how the web page or the app on the web page presents everything to you, and they do it all behind the scenes for you to make it easier on the user. For 1inch, once the app loads, it chooses some default tokens to fill in. We'll just change those. There's also options here for limit and peer-to-peer trading. We're just going to do a regular swap for now. Limit's more of an advanced function that I'll probably have a video for later on to show you how that works and what the side effects are for it. So we'll need to connect my wallet. So let's go ahead and connect that. You can connect from either here or up here, doesn't matter. I've previously logged in to MetaMask, so if you haven't logged in, then you would have to enter your password to get into MetaMask when it pops up. So it's going to ask me which wallet I want to connect with. I'm going to choose the Ledger 8. I sent about $50 to this Ledger 8 wallet for this demo from Coinbase. You can look at a previous video that I have to see how to send from Coinbase to your wallet and how to set it up with Ethereum, which I already have in that wallet as well. So now you can see the address. This is the address of the Ledger 8 wallet. On Uniswap, I chose USDC and HEX for the trade that we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and bring up MetaMask and we can look at what's in the wallet. But going to assets, as you can see, I have ETH here, 0.0029. It's not showing me the USDC, but I can import that. USDC, and click next. It'll say here's the $50 that I sent over minus the fee that Coinbase charged me. And once you've imported it, then it asks you if you want to send or swap. Usually I'm just trying to make it show up in my assets, so I hit that back arrow to go back to the main screen, and now it's showing me my USDC. So on 1inch, I can choose USDC as the coin I'm sending or swapping away. HEX is the one I want to get back. I can choose HEX there. And now for 1 USDC, I can get 30 HEX. I'm going to go ahead and buy more than that, but before we do that, let's go over to Matcha and do the same thing so we can compare the two exchanges to see which one's going to give us the better deal. The homepage has a start trading button here in the middle, which will take you to where you can swap. Once you've done that, you can connect your wallet by selecting this button here. Each of your exchanges has to connect to that application. So this is the Matcha application. We have MetaMask, so I'm choosing MetaMask to connect. It's also prompting me for Ledger 8 and allowing me to connect my Ledger 8 wallet to the Matcha application. Now that I've connected the wallet, we're going to choose the same tokens like we did before on Matcha. They've got USDC towards the top, so it's easy to choose. For hex, let's look at how to enter hex using its smart contract address. And this is a way that you would want to select a coin that's not been around for very long. To do this, we're going to go look at 3 different crypto list sites. So in 3 tabs, I've got 3 different crypto listing sites. The first one is matcha.xyz. I prefer it because it actually lists hex more correctly than any of the other ones. You can use the search box to find hex. Just type in hex and click it. Once it brings hex up, you can scroll down and it'll have this contract address right here. And you just have to click this little icon here to have it copy it into your copy buffer. We're going to go look and see that this same address is on the other sites, and this is to do verification that we're using the correct address. The second site I'm going to look at is CoinGecko. They don't really list hex correctly, but they're one of the more popular sites and have, type in hex, click on the first one, and when I scroll down, they have the contract address over here, and 2B50EEB39. And go back to Nomics 2B5910EEB39. So they show different amounts of the first and last characters in the contract address. The last site I'll look at is one of the original coin listing websites and probably the most popular one, but they are doing gatekeeping on hex, so I'm no longer a fan of theirs. Type in hex and click on it, and they always list hex at rank 201 or 202 when it should be in the top 20. And they do this because they've listened to some of the other people online that claim hex is a scam, even though it's been working perfectly for 3 years now. Once you get to the hex page, we can scroll down and look and see that we've got the 2B590EEB39, and we can copy that address there. So now that we have the contract address for hex, we can go back to matcha. So instead of typing hex here, we can paste the hex smart contract address, and then it will recognize that token by its smart contract address. If you had typed in hex and there were more than one, it's possible that somebody has put in a scam coin to try and steal your money. I'll go into how that might work in a separate video. For the purposes of this video, using the smart contract for any coin that you're not confident with is the safer way to do this. After you've used a website enough and you have seen that they only have one pair for the pair that you've been using in the past, and then you can just type in hex, or it may just come up already if you've already used it before. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. Okay, now let's look into comparing matcha and 1 inch and see what the differences are in price. Typically, we're not going to see a whole lot of difference. I used to think 1 inch was better, but it's mainly because I started using it first. I've come to like matcha.xyz a little bit better. So we can look at the price. We can see that 31,115,174 here, 31,115,1. So they're pretty close to the same. You can see that the Ethereum fee is $441 here, and over here it's $491, and they talk about a 5% refund. So the fee typically is going to be very similar. I've had more luck with Matcha providing a lower fee. I don't know why. On Matcha, you can see that as an aggregator, like I said earlier, they're looking at other DEXs and picking the right price. So in this case, they're picking Uniswap v2. Uniswap has multiple versions. There's a v1, a v2, and a v3, which each have separate liquidity. So it'll look at all of those. And SushiSwap is another DEX on the Ethereum network. Matcha has compared with it and has chosen Uniswap over it this time. That can change from time to time depending on which DEX has the lower price. On 1 inch, by default this is closed. I typically open this up so that I can look at both directions of the price. So from hex buying, it's 3.2138 cents per hex. For USD selling, it's 31 hex for 1 USD. So one thing you may notice here is on 1inch, it talks about permit and swap. And this is something you're going to run into the very first time you try and swap out a coin that you're taking out of your wallet as a part of the swap transaction. You have to give permission to the DEX to have access to that coin. It's one of the security measures that they have in place. It doesn't look like that exists on Matcha, but it does. When you go to review your purchase, it says I need to get permission to use your USDC in order to do that. This step has created a transaction on the blockchain that basically says I give permission to this application to access a certain amount of my USDC in this case. Typically, it's a very large number. So if you're not comfortable allowing a DEX to do all of your USDC because you have way too much of it, a nice problem to have, you can revoke that permission after you've completed the transaction. In the future, I'll also do a video that shows you how to revoke that permission after your transaction has completed. You can basically go to a website called etherscan.io and do that. It'll show you for your wallet any permissions you've given to various DEXs or other applications that you've connected to on various websites. And you can then execute a transaction that basically revokes the permission that was given to that application. This is sometimes a good thing to do if you think you've gone and connected to a site and maybe you thought you were doing one thing and you aren't sure if you've accidentally given permission to that site to access all your coins. You can go to Etherscan and look at it, and it'll tell you whether or not permission has been given to that application. So you should only do this for applications that you know have been working for a while without issues, so that you can trust that they won't abuse this ability. So I'm going to approve my USDC. It's going to bring up MetaMask. So this is giving permission for matcha.xyz to access my USDC. If I want to, I can change the access to be a limited number of coins. So I could limit it to just the 25 that I'm going to do for this transaction, but I would have to come back later on and change it to allow permission for a higher amount if I needed to do a trade for a higher amount in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it the way it is, which is basically a very large number is allowed to be accessed. And if I get an uncomfortable feeling, I can always go back and revoke that. So this will cost some ETH for this approval transaction, and this transaction will go on the blockchain, which will basically tell the Ethereum network that this application has access to manipulate the USDC in my wallet. So I'm pressing confirm. It's going to pop up MetaMask. So I'm clicking through on my ledger and accepting the transaction, which I did. And now it's going to wait for that to get approval, which occurred. So now when I go to place this order, I'm going to change my USDC value to be 25. So I'm going to spend $25 worth of USDC, and that'll get me 779 hex. It's going to be done on Uniswap v2 with an estimated fee of $5.67. So I'm going to review the order. It's giving me all the information that I just looked at, giving me the exchange rate I should expect to get, and it's estimating the fee is actually going to be a little bit lower. We'll see what that ends up happening. So that pops up MetaMask once I click confirm. It shows me the transaction, shows me the estimated amount of fee that it's going to cost, and that gets updated if you sit here long enough. If you think the fees are high, you can wait and it will get updated every so often with a new fee value. I'm going to go ahead and confirm, and it sent the transaction to my ledger. So I'm on my ledger and I'm paging through each of fields that it's showing me, making sure the right things that were shown in MetaMask, and then pressing accept and send. And that will send that transaction to the Ethereum blockchain, and Matcha then starts a timer to watch the transaction. And if I want to, I can pop this up and watch it on Ethereum blockchain scanner, etherscan.io, and it says it was a success. There's only one block confirmation. Usually it requires more block confirmations before it's actually considered a success. And if I sit here and let it go, it'll update. Eventually, I usually see a pop-up show up from MetaMask saying that the transaction has been completed successfully. And that usually happens after enough confirmations have completed. If we look through Etherscan, I can look and see that for 25 USDC, I'm going to receive 779.334, etc. hex, or approximately $24.83 worth. So I'm going to hit refresh. Now I've got 7 block confirmations. If I want to, I can also open up MetaMask and look at the activity, and it shows it as being successful. Let's see. Looks like the USDC has been decremented, and it's not showing my hex yet, and that's because I haven't told MetaMask about that hex. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go get that hex smart contract, and I'm going to import the token. So let's go. And here is the Ethereum contract. And I'm going to go into MetaMask. I'm going to import tokens. This is a custom token. MetaMask recognizes it and fills in the rest of it for me. Add those tokens. Now I have my 779. I'm going to import those. And I don't want to send or swap, so I'm just going to go back to the main menu where I can look at the assets, that I can scroll down and see that I have the hex that I just purchased. So it's in my wallet now. One thing I did want to mention is we used matcha. See there, it's showing my success for that trade. But what I did learn was that for 1 inch, it turns out when I try and do a transaction with 1 inch that it now is blocking US citizens. So it's recognizing my IP as being from the United States. And when I try and do a transaction, or even to try and give approval for the USDC, it gives me this big ugly warning that says I'm using it from a restricted territory, or I'm using a VPN that shows my location as a restricted territory, which means the United States. So if I try and add a VPN, I'll pause the video and turn on a VPN and set myself up to be in the Netherlands or something. So with the VPN on, when I do the permit and swap, it will bring up MetaMask, and then I can confirm the transaction. And once I do that with the VPN on, it will give me this big warning about you need to agree that you're not in a restricted territory, or you're not using a VPN to hide that you're in a restricted territory. And restricted territories are the US. So people that pay taxes in the US are not supposed to use 1 inch. So that pretty much concludes my demo of purchasing our first crypto. That crypto being Hex. We exchanged USDC, which we obtained on Coinbase. I've got previous videos that show you how to prepare your wallet for purchasing crypto. So go back and look at that one to see how we got the Ethereum into the wallet. We used that Ethereum to pay the fees. I used Coinbase to exchange my USD for USDC, which I also moved to the wallet. And then I was able to use that USDC to swap it for Hex, which is my first crypto purchase for this wallet. Hopefully you were able to follow along with all of that. If you had any questions, post them in the comments, and hopefully this was useful. Also, if you're new to crypto, I did write a book called Crypto: What I Learned the Hard Way by Crypto Jags. You can find it on Amazon in the Kindle book area. It goes into a lot more detail about why you might want to get into crypto and what the value proposition is. I go into more details about risk versus reward, and I go into a lot of details about how to avoid scams. I think there's a lot of really good information in there, and I've got a link in the description if you decide you want to delve into that a little bit more and maybe try and understand better about what crypto is and what the value proposition is. If you found this useful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Later.